What's happening, everybody, and welcome to episode 17 of Daily Dev Club for Friday the 7th of June. Today we're going to carry on with our Unity top-down 2D shooter, BattleShapes, and we're going to add to the explosion particle effects we added on Wednesday by adding in and implementing a screen shake effect. So as well as seeing the explosions when the enemies or the player is destroyed, we'll also have a sort of a screen shake effect that happens when you hit the enemies or when the player's hit. That will just sort of add to the overall effect and feel of the action that's going on. We'll also have a look at how we can customize it so that we can have sort of differing amounts of screen shake for different actions and things like that. So without further ado, let's get into the code. Okay, so to add screen shake to our game, we're going to want a script that operates on the camera transform to move it around. So we'll start off by creating a new script. We will call it screen shake, and we'll give that a second to compile, and then we'll drag that across to our main camera. So you can see there we've got our screen shake component, and then over in our code we are going to want to write the code for the actual shake in here. So we're going to need a couple of variables first of all. So we'll have duration, which will default to, so let's say 2 seconds, and we'll have our amount, so that's the amount of screen shake, so we can play with that as well. And then we're going to want an internal variable for the sort of the duration left, which will track it while we're actually doing the shake. So pop that in there. So in our update, what we're going to want to say is, so we don't want the screen shaking all the time, obviously we want a method to initialize that, but what we'll basically say is if the duration is, if we have duration left, which will be set by our method in a minute to actually perform the screen shake, if it's greater than 0, then we need to do the actual shaking and obviously reduce the duration by delta times. So once we're done, we'll do that. As we've done before, that's the time since the last frame. So each time this fires, we're reducing that duration. And then for the actual screen shake, we sort of want obviously like a random element to that. So we're going to want the transform of this object, which is obviously attached to the camera. We're going to change the position of it. But we need the current position, and we're going to add sort of a random amount based on the shake amount, but also a sort of random factor. We're going to use random inside unit sphere, which is like a helper for sort of a random vector amount within like a 1 degree radius of the sphere of the game object, and then obviously what we're going to do is multiply that by our shake amount. So that's there. So what we're essentially saying is we're adding a vector which is a set vector, or sorry, a randomized vector within the unit sphere, but then we're multiplying that by a set scaling factor essentially, which we can play with in a minute, so we have more or less screen shake. And then it could also be that as well as having screen shake for different durations, we can have it for different amounts based on the different hooks that we're hooking into. So it might be that when we're shooting an enemy, we have a small amount of screen shake, but when we're taking damage, we have a bigger amount of screen shake, that sort of thing. So that's what we have for the minute. Now obviously the only problem with this is we need to be able to return the camera position to its original position once we're finished. So for that we're going to want to store a private variable of the original position, and what we'll do is on start we'll say original position equals transform local position. So here we're randomizing our screen shake, reducing it. We'll keep doing that until there's no duration left. Once that happens, we want to restore our original position for the camera. Now that's great, except there's no way to actually kick this off. So to just test this, what we'll do is we'll just pop in a duration left of that. And so when we first fire up the game, we should see screen shake for 3 seconds, and then it will restore. So have a quick look and test that out, see what it looks like. Okay, so that works. Let's reduce the amount a little bit and let's play with that. Okay, so we set scaling differently. Of course, obviously, if we were to go really bananas. Yeah. Okay, so probably about 0.2 is where we want it for now. Maybe 0.3. But we obviously don't want that just happening when the camera first starts up. We want a method to set that. So we'll call it shake screen, and we'll allow this to pass in. Just let's pass in the duration and the amount. And what we'll do is we don't need to really set these as public configuration variables. We'll allow that to be passed in so that we can have different variables and different lengths of screen shake for different things. So we don't need to set those either. Let's change that to private variables. Okay, that works better. So now what we do is we will just update that one. So we set the amount, and then we set the duration, which is obviously what kicks off. In fact, actually, we don't even need one for the duration, do we? Because we've got our duration left. So all we're doing is saying duration left equals our duration. Yeah, that one. Okay, so each time this is called, we say shake screen. We're going to set the amount, and then we're setting duration left to our duration, and then obviously that whittles the duration down by shaking the screen until we get to 0. So that works nicely. And again, we can test that with a shake screen, and we'll set that to 2 seconds, and our, what do we say, 0.2f for the amount. Wait for that to compile and give that a go. A bit of screen shake there for a couple of seconds, and then it stops. So now we want to take that out, and we want to expose that so we can do it for different things. So perhaps when the player fires, or maybe probably on the collisions would be a better idea. So if we go to maybe damageable, let's see how we want to set this up. So maybe a better option. So damageable, I think, has a reference to our game manager. It does indeed. So perhaps on our game, if we add to our game manager, we could add a in here. What we'll do is we'll say public screen shake, and we'll call it camera shake, and we'll expose that as a public variable, public method to call, which will just call through to our, so the same arguments there, float duration, float amount, and that will just call through to our camera shake component. And we can call it the same thing, didn't we? Screen shake, shake screen. Let's call that the same. So shake screen. So it's effectively just passing that through from our game manager through to our camera. And obviously, to make that work on our game, when that recompiles, we'll see that pops in there. So let's just drag if we drag our camera across, as we saw before, it's clever enough to realise that the screen shake component we want is on the camera, and it'll set that for us automatically. So with that in place, we can now, anywhere that has a reference to game manager, can call shake screen for different things. So in our damageable, where we're managing the hits down here, what we'll say is where we update the visual status, we'll then underneath do a game manager shake screen, and very short amount of screen shake. Let's just play with that with the values, and we can see if that works, how we want it to work. So we see we have a bit of shake there now, which provides a bit of feedback, and it happens on whether we hit the players, the enemies, or whether they're hitting us. That's probably a bit much at the minute, so let's make it slightly different. depending on what it is we're actually doing. So if the game object tag is player, so if it's the player that's being hit, we'll do one type of screen shake, and if it's anything else, so the enemy's being hit, we'll do something else. Let's make it a little bit shorter. That one, I think, a little bit longer, but less, but it's the same amount. Let's have a look. So once you've got this in place, obviously you can then start to just play with the values to get the look and feel of the game. There you go. And so we have a nice little bit of shake now. So I think maybe still reduce that just a little bit. Maybe even not as long. Obviously once you take a few hits as a player, so the duration itself doesn't add it on. Obviously what we could do is actually have it so it's sort of cumulative, but I think it works better like this, so each hit sort of just restarts the duration effectively. Which is quite nice. But we can see now it's just another sort of more visual feedback for the actual game, rather than just seeing the shots firing and hitting. You know, we get that sort of more immediate visual impact. I'm going to flip these around actually, so it's slightly longer when you're hitting an enemy and slightly less when you're being hit. Otherwise you sort of end up with this the screen shake affecting your aim a little bit. So it's nice if it's more impactful when you're hitting them, and maybe it feels like you're taking less of a hit, especially as the player should take more hits. That's the other thing you could do. Obviously you could almost tie it into the actual health, so that as you get to critical health, perhaps the shake becomes slightly higher. So if we had on our player prefab, we have our damageable, we have lives, so let's make that a little bit bigger, just to make the game slightly easier, as we're dying quite quickly at the minute. But then let's have lives left. So for the player, based on the lives left, we'll change this. So if we have 0.2 based on 20, well, it's sort of the inverse, so the amount of screen shake increases with the less lives we have, basically. So if we do 1 divided by lives left, let's give that a go. So as you have less lives left, the amount of screen shake should start to increase. So that should make things just seem that little bit more immediate. So obviously to begin with, the shake when you hit an enemy will be much bigger, but as you're getting towards in death, it's likely to be a little bit bigger. So you can see there a little bit of screen shake. You can see the screen starting to shake a little bit more now until we eventually explode. So that gives you again a nice sort of visual indicator as the screen shaking more. Okay, there we have it. Screen shake effect is in, and combined with our particle effects for the explosion, adds a lot to the look and feel of the game. Now when we're destroying the enemy objects, we're getting a lot more sort of visceral feedback, and it feels a lot better to play. And obviously also when we're taking hits, we've got that screen shake that sort of increases the closer we get to being destroyed, which adds to the sort of urgency of the game. So both sort of small little tweaks, but add a lot to the actual feel of the game, which is good. Next for this project, I think we might look at some more graphical flourishes, but instead of sort of the reactive stuff we've been doing, so you know, particle effects and screen shake happening on specific actions, we'll look at some shaders to improve the overall graphics, so maybe adding some neon glow effects, that sort of stuff to our players and enemies, stuff that happens sort of all the time, and will just overall improve the polish of the game. So we'll look at that next, but I hope you enjoyed today's episode with that look at the simple customizable screen shake effect. If you did, please share it with your friends, give us a subscribe if you want to know when the next episode drops, and of course, as always, any feedback or suggestions, please drop in the comment box below. Other than that, I hope to see you back for the next episode of DDC. Peace out. Hope you enjoyed that episode of Daily Dev Club. If you'd like to see another one, click this link right here. Suggestions and feedback are always welcome down below in the comments, please. And of course, if you want to know when the next episode drops, please smash that subscribe button.